From the John DeVito Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Wednesday, April the 12th, the year 2017. And now, here they are, smiling, breathing on their own, Jim and Rich.
I want to know what he was laughing at.
I'm even smiling more now that John in the intro had to start laughing a little bit. So
don't know what.
We don't know. And you know what? He may have to put himself on speed dial to the priest if he divulges what he was thinking. I don't know.
I may have
because he's not responding to us at all over there.
He's just keeping quiet.
It's like we're not even in the studio.
No. He's got his head turned away from us.
Yes, all of a sudden, he's fantastically interested in the computer screen.
Watching the computer screen, looking at the blue lines
I think
move across, just showing when there's noise being made.
The blue lines are sort of like the test pattern that used to come on at the end of the TV day in the old days of television.
And we'd sit up and watch it.
Hey, there's nothing else on at 2:30 in the morning. We watch the test pattern.
Let's watch the test pattern and hear that.
Yeah.
How true.
Man.
It just means we're all old if we remember that stuff.
No doubt about it.
I always remember when there was one time after a DePaul game, and we were trying to. Gene Honda happened to be doing the PA that day, and we were trying to get him to come out with us for beer and pizza. And Gene, in his normal basso profundo voice, "No, I can't. I have to work a begathon tonight at Channel 11. And he says, and now that they're on 24 hours a day, he said, I came home last week and I was came home from the bar about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was I can't use the term that he used, but he said I turned on the TV and he said there I was."
There I was. That must be scary at 3 in the morning.
That scared that hell out of me.
Hey, I didn't. Of course, I haven't seen you guys, and this just happened. All happened with the last couple of days. Went to the Bulls game last night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I have to tell you, I could not tell you anything about the game. We had a suite.
Oh,
and
cool.
You know what? The time went by fast. We had a great time. What was happening in the game, I have no clue, other than I know the Bulls won by like 40-some points, I think.
Yeah.
It was a blowout. I think Orlando just said, the heck with it, our season's over. And, they showed up in body, but not in spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was going to talk. I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the Bulls because I just continually scratch my head looking at this team, and there's a possibility that if they beat Brooklyn, who they just absolutely stunk out the place the other night against Brooklyn. And I don't know who else. Does Miami have to lose a game? Basically, the Bulls need to win.
The Bulls can finish in a tie with Miami because they have the tiebreaker.
Do they have the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they could finish, and I don't know. I think it's still possible. Could they still finish seventh? I think they might.
I think that's a possibility.
I mean, we're talking about this like this means that they could actually do something, which I don't think they can. Jim, I don't know how you feel, but we were talking about this last night at the game, and I said, I have not been totally turned around by Hoiberg, but I have to tell you, with the variety of things that management has given him to deal with in this short period of time, I'm not talking about last year, I'm just talking about this year. The signing of Wade and Rondo, the trade at the trade deadline. I think he's done a pretty good job of keeping things together. And because, as you said, how did you intro this, Jim? What were the words that you used?
I don't even remember what I had for lunch.
You just said something about what a weird season it is.
It is a weird season, and you lose to teams like Brooklyn, and you sweep Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I look at the roster here, and I'll admit I was going to talk about this, and I wanted to ask your opinion on this. And I'll admit I heard the guys on the afternoon show on the Score go over the roster, and they were playing He said they were after a game when they were extremely disgusted by him. They were playing a game called Player, More Than a Guy, Guy, Bum. And they named each player on the roster.
What were the 4 categories?
Player,
Okay.
more than a guy,
What is it? More than a guy means what?
just step up
Pretty
from
good player.
step up from a guy,
Okay.
and then bum.
Oh, there's just 3 categories.
4 categories. Player, player meaning he's a good
Yeah,
player.
I know.
He's
I
a
understand.
guy you want out there. More than a guy.
Okay.
Shows
Gotcha.
you a guy, just a filler. In
Okay.
bum, you wonder why he's on the roster.
Okay.
So let's just play that. Rajon Rondo.
Player.
Okay. I'd say after this point, I'm kind of looking at him as more than a guy. Jerry and Grant.
Guy.
I agree. Michael Carter Williams.
Guy.
I agree. Isaiah Kanan. And you can also give an incomplete too if you.
Yeah, I'm just going to say guy because at the beginning of the season he played. I thought he played pretty well, and all of a sudden he disappeared. And I think, I'll just leave it at that.
You're going to call him a guy.
I'll call him a guy.
I am called by the fact that he's disappeared. I kind of call him a bum.
Okay.
Cameron Payne.
I'd say a bum.
Yep. I no doubt. No doubt. In fact, when they were doing this, Jason Goff on the score said when he named Cameron Payne, he says, "No discussion about this one. A dog-ass bum."
I mean, that's probably one of the most god-awful trades in the history of Chicago sports right there.
That's right. Dwayne Wade.
Player.
I agree. Denzel Valentine. I kind of looked at, and you may give incompletes if you.
I'm just going to call him a guy at this point.
I kind of call him. You call him a guy. I'm still calling him kind of incomplete. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anthony Morrill.
I'll call him a bum, but he just hasn't really played.
No.
I don't know what he can do.
I don't know what he can do either, and I kind of refer to him as a bum. Jimmy Butler.
Player.
I agree. Paul Zipser.
I'll say at this point still a guy.
I kind of call him a guy. Niko Mirotic.
More than a guy.
Yeah, I kind of lean to that point too. Bobby Portis.
More than a guy.
Okay, I'm kind of looking at him as a guy. Joffrey Laverne.
I'll call him a guy, but verging on more than a guy. It's interesting the way they use him. Sometimes he's really, really good, and sometimes they barely use him at all.
I don't understand how they've been using him too, because there's times I've thought the same thing.
Yeah.
So as a result, I kind of look at him and give him an incomplete. Robin Lopez.
I call him a player.
Okay. I call him more than a guy. Cristiano Felicio.
I'd say a guy.
Yep. So I don't know if this is typical of the or if this is just indicative of how the team is. You show got 4 guys as players on here.
Yeah.
I show 2, but you show 6 guys as just guys.
Yes.
And I show 5.
Okay.
And maybe, and I only showed 2 guys as players, really.
You know what? I think the problem is this, and I'm not faulting. I'm not going to fault the coach because I think
he's got to do with what he's dealt.
Think about this. Yeah, first off, you're a coach who we already went through this. You bring him in as a guy who he likes to run up and down the court, shoot the 3. You bring in a couple of veteran guys who that's not their game. Then the season starts. And I think what the problem is, and even though the trade itself was bad, if you look at it player for player,
horrible.
One of the benefits of the trade, sending Gibson and McDermott away, is it shortened the bench and gave him an opportunity to get a a decent rotation in. One of the mysteries of this season, I think, is Nikola Mirotic, who was basically a couple times just banned to bench them, and all of a sudden he's like a key guy in if you want to call it your spurt to hit the playoffs. So what was that all about? The front office. I have to say this: there was a long period of time where I didn't buy this at all, but the front office is so obviously butting into the coach's business on this team. It's just sickening. Mirotic is a good example. Rajon Rondo. I heard Bill Wennington on a game. I happened to listen to a little bit of radio a month or so ago when Rondo got back into the starting lineup. Wennington said, this guy should have been starting the whole time. What was that all about? And I agree. You got 5 point guards on the team. A lot of times in crunch time, they have Butler actually playing the point, so that's 6.
Yeah.
Wade does it at that's 7.
7.
And I'm thinking, why are you making a trade for ostensibly, unless there's something else going on that they're just not saying, for another point guard who's not even, I'll be kind, not established. Okay.
No.
What is going on here? Now I'd say the one guy they got in the trade there, again. Now there's another thing, and again this is not any poke at the coach. What I do sort of like when you see the way he uses, say, a Laverne, and you say, man, he scored say 14 one game because I look at the box score, and the next game he's 0 or 2. He's not getting that many minutes.
Or a DNP.
But you know what? Maybe Hoiberg is sharper than a lot of us give him credit for. He's finding the good matchups for certain guys.
That's possible. That's possible.
And that's why you see one game up and then a few down.
Yeah, that's possible.
So I give the coach a lot of credit. The other thing I've read, there was just an article, I think it might have been in yesterday's paper, where Nikola Mirotic said, he doesn't see a problem in the locker room. They asked him straight out, does Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade sort of go their own way sometimes? And he said, I don't see that at all. And he says, Fred Hoiberg's got this locker room, which tells me one thing. It's great for Fred Hoiberg that he's got control of his locker room, but may not be so good for him in terms of his long range or his longevity with the team.
His longevity.
Because what that is telling me is he's basically telling the front office, go take a hike, and which is great, and that's the way he's got control of his locker room, which is great for that little group that's the team, but might not be so great for Fred Hoiberg in the long run, which is a pitiful thing, really. It's terrible. It's terrible you have a front office that deals that way.
And I look at this, and I was sitting and thinking about this. Now, Wade can opt out after this season. He can opt out of his contract after this season. Now, if they make the playoffs, I'm sure it's going to be one and done, one series and done, and that. I was trying to think, when could he opt out after his out of his contract? That's going to have to be after the draft.
Well,
so I would be curious to see if Wade is going to look at what are the Bulls drafting.
No, I think what I would say, Jim, if I was the Bulls, I would encourage, and I'll tell you what, I really like Dwayne Wade as a player. But I would say this.
He's still got some, there's still some gas in the tank.
But I would encourage both Dwayne Wade and the Bulls to have Dwayne Wade end his relationship with Chicago after this year.
Oh,
and
I would.
For this reason. Just look what just happened. He was gone for a while. The team was playing pretty well. And I'm not saying this is wrong. This is the dilemma that coaches find themselves in. So now you bring back Dwayne Wade, who obviously everybody in that situation has respect for, thinks that he should be on the floor. I agree with that. But now you throw him back into the situation, which means now you have to reload again a little bit, because now you got, even though he's been there before, you got to incorporate him back.
You got a different mix. Your rotation is going to be different.
Exactly.
Right.
So they had a little glitch in Brooklyn, and I'm not blaming Wade for that, but I think it's possible that you're getting used to things again.
You also had, at least as I was flipping the channels last night for a bit before I had to go out and watch the Bulls pregame, I heard Stacy refer to, well, Saturday we had Bad Nico.
Bad. Yeah, well, that's
Bad Nico was back on Saturday.
Yeah, Bad Nico.
Yeah.
You know what? I think there's another guy who's. I'm not saying the Bulls should move him, but I think the handwriting's on the wall. I think the management wants him to go. But back to Dwayne Wade. Not that he's a bad guy or anything like that, but I think the whole Dwayne Wade period here with this 1 year with the Bulls has been a little bit of a distraction. I mean, if you put Dwayne Wade, say, on a really good contending team, and he's got to sit out a game because of physical issues, or he's got to miss some practices because of physical issues, you put him on the Michael Jordan Bulls, that's not a problem. All we're worried about is winning. We want to win the championship. This guy's going to help us. But you put him on a struggling, barely making the playoffs type of team, that is an issue. It's an issue not because he's milking the system. It's an issue because they're not the type of team who can afford to have that type of player.
And that's true. And it's a case of where's he going to fit in, and how's he going to fit in, and when is he going to fit in?
Right.
What situation do you want him out there?
Yeah, I mean it's not because he's a bad guy or he's doing anything wrong, or it's not that the Bulls. I mean, when I talk about the Bulls, Fred Hoiberg is doing anything wrong. It's just a difficult situation for the type of team that we have at the moment. And Dwayne Wade playing one more year for us, I don't think is going to change the situation that we have that much.
No, I don't think so either. I just wanted to take a quick glance at the standings. Bulls and Miami are both tied right now, 40 and 41. Although they're showing the Bulls as eighth here, so that means they must have the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Wednesday, Brooklyn at the Bulls. I'm looking for Washington at Miami.
So that's a tougher game.
That
should be a tougher game for Miami.
That's going to be a tougher game for Miami.
But that doesn't mean anything.
No, that should be a tougher game for Miami. And basically, I guess win and you're in.
Yeah, definitely.
Lose, you need help.
Yeah, and so control your own destiny.
You control your own
all right.
You control your own destiny, and you would think that that's going to come to the forefront for the players.
Now, even though I said I didn't watch or I couldn't tell you much about the game, actually the first 5 minutes or so of the game, we were watching the game before we got into talking about all kinds of other stuff and not paying as close attention. But I don't know that the Bulls so much took charge of the game as Orlando was just totally uninterested. Then they'd come up, they'd throw up a shot, nobody would be going for the offensive rebound, and the Bulls pretty much had that game from the get-go. I think they started out before the first timeout. It was like 12-2 or something.
Yeah, I looked at one point on my phone, and I think I saw like 25-7 or something like that.
So it was a poor. What little I watched, it was a poor performance by Orlando, more so than a dominating performance by the Bulls.
Okay. So, private box. What level are you on? The lower level boxes or the
lower level?
Oh, yeah, that's excellent.
Like just to the one, a little bit to the one side of the one basket.
Okay.
Boy, what a nice setup!
It's a nice setup. I went to a game once, and it was on one of the upper levels, and it was very distracting. I really didn't pay that much attention to the game.
No, I mean there's so much. It's almost like you're not even there. In a sense that you're separated, not by much. I mean, there's people who had regular seats that were right down below us.
Yeah.
But there's just so much to, you're going for food, you're going for a beer, you're going for, whatever.
When the dessert cart comes around.
The dessert cart comes and, so it's a nice experience, but
Oh, yeah.
if you really want to concentrate on the ball game, you're not going to.
No, it's
Probably not going to be able
It's
to
a great.
do it.
It's a great experience. I mean, I had a game there once. Was a DePaul game years ago. In fact, it was a DePaul Notre Dame game years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on the next level up, and the game was very distracting
Yeah.
to try to watch it. And it was a Saturday in December, so it was NFL football on there, and I think we all wound up watching the football game.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There was, I don't know how many minutes it took, but I just happened to go into the suite part of the deal, and the Cubs were just about to do the flag raising ceremony, and so watch that. That probably took, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. I don't think it took much longer than that, but that's 10 minutes of the game that I didn't see. So. There was just a lot going on, and we took pictures and stuff.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just
Oh, yeah.
fun.
All the
fun
fun
thing.
stuff. So, speaking of the Cubs, it was a big night last night. And let me ask you a question. How winning a championship, winning the World Series, how has that changed you as a Cub fan?
How's it changed me?
How has it changed you as a Cub fan? Is your feeling any different now?
No, you know what, Jim? I think we texted back and forth when they won Game 7 last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I was surprised I wasn't more emotional. I'm not emotional. I wasn't, like when somebody that was in our party last night said, "Geez, they're going to have 100,000 down at Wrigley Field today." I mean, in and around, and
In and around the ballpark. Sure.
around the ballpark. And I don't think it's, maybe I got so used to being a Cubs fan that, where we didn't win. But this is not seeming to hit me the same way has hit a lot of other people. I like it. I'm glad that the Cubs are a winner, but it just almost seems unreal in some ways.
Yeah. I kind of look at it. I kind of look at it myself and think back. I was very emotional that night.
Mm-hmm.
It really hit me.
Mm-hmm.
It really hit me hard that night, and you sit back and think about all these years. I never thought I'd see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always was one that people would ask me, wow, they're going to clinch, or you're going to win the division. How you feeling about this? You nervous? And you excited? And I said, I won't get excited until they're 3 games ahead and with 2 to play.
Mm-hmm.
How you going to feel about the World Series if they get all that? You're going to be excited? I said, I'll get excited when it's an 0-2 count in 2 outs in the deciding game, and it's the last batter up, and the Cubs have an 8-run lead. Then I'll be excited.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm going to be a bundle of nerves.
Yeah.
But I come in now and I look at this season, and I think this is a good ball club.
Yeah.
This is a good ball club. I mean, after all those years of watching really, really bad baseball,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in those years, even during the DeRocher years, where DeRocher mismanaged the team in '69.
Mm-hmm.
They started to fight amongst themselves after that point. You kind of looked at it and expected a disaster at some point. Yeah. I kind of look at this. I look at it now and I say, well, and I talked to Arthur
Mm-hmm.
about it, and he felt the same way after the Sox game. I mean, he called me a day or so after the Cubs won the World Series, and he said, "How you feeling?" And I said, "I feel the same way you did after the Sox won the World Series." I got mine.
There you go.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't care what happens after this point. By golly, I got mine.
I tell you what, I don't know if it just, I'm a baseball fan, mm-hmm. and I just appreciate the game. And I think over the years, maybe, because it just, from the time you were a Cubs fan till, I would say, '69, we were still in high school, mm-hmm. and ready to graduate, actually. And from that point on, I'm not going to say it was frustrating, but all you heard was, when are they going to break the curse, and when are they going to, when are they going to break through? And then you got to the 100-year mark, and it was like, oh man, well, anybody could have a bad century. And I think I sort of started to get immune to all that, and I think between that and the fact that they had just a really, really outstanding ball club last year, and I was confident that they would do well from the beginning. Nobody can predict a World Series win. I don't care, how big of a favorite you are. But I thought, well, they could win the World Series. They almost didn't. I mean, it was, but they did, and so to me, it was just like, I don't know. It was great. I'm glad we did it. But I think maybe if it would have been a team that was more out of left field, as opposed to a team that
just dominated.
Just sort of dominated.
Just dominated.
Yeah. And I would say, not going to say we're the Yankees, but the Cubs, from where I'm sitting, you're not going to do what the Yankees did anymore in baseball or any of the sports.
No, you're not going to have that 5-6 years.
But the Cubs will be a top-flight ball club for, I don't know how many years going forward, but it could be quite a long time.
Yeah, I kind of look at it that way, and I think this is a year that we can sit back and enjoy it and watch it. Going to have to start thinking about next year, because I'm thinking at least two of the 2-year starting pitchers are gone.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking Lackey's probably going to retire.
That's what they're thinking. Yeah.
That's what they're thinking, and I just can't see Arrieta here, and I don't think anybody's going to fault him. You're going to get the meatballs.
Yeah.
Because meatballs are prevalent everywhere, but they're gonna look at him and thank you for all you've done and good luck to you.
That's the the nature of the game. And you know what? Here's the other thing. You don't want to burn bridges, because I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it has happened enough in sports where that guy may end up coming back to you in some, or put it this way, say you're Epstein or Hoyer and you move on for some reason. That guy may pitch for you again somewhere down the line.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to burn that bridge.
You're never going to burn that bridge. And the thing that's a plus now. Well, I mean, there's a negative in that they've really developed position players well, but they haven't really, and they know it's a fault.
Sure.
That they haven't developed pitchers in the minors.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
But you've now made Chicago an attractive place. The Cubs an attractive place to come to.
Right.
Listening to them talk about the way the ballpark was. Although nobody seems to, a couple of comments, nobody seems to like the bullpens now, the way they've. They said
the under the stands or something?
Under the bleachers.
Under the bleachers.
And it's kind of weird because you see them, I guess the way they describe them, the Under Armour signs out there. That's actually, from what they're describing it's actually one-way glass. So they can look out from the bullpen, but nobody can see in. And apparently on the bleacher concourse, there is one-way glass the other way. So you can look in and see the players, but they can't see out there.
Well,
it was an interesting term because they talked about, and I've read this term too, on how they've monetized. The Ricketts have monetized every inch of the ballpark in the area. Yeah. If there's something that they can make money on, by golly, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to do it. John? Wake up, John. Let's take a break. Okay. I'm just looking at the clock.
You're listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norge and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Wednesday, April the 12th, year of our Lord, 2017 with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norridge, Illinois. And now back to Armchair Experts with Jim and Rich.
Back. Yep. There we are. Back on the Big 89.
Yeah. It's good. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be king. And it was kind of. It's interesting because apparently the way they've rebuilt that, people on the bleacher concourse can look into the bullpens.
Oh, okay.
I
smile when you say about the one-way glass because I'm thinking about some of those old baseball books like Baseball is a Funny Game and all of the antics of the bullpen guys. And I'm thinking, is this a good idea? They can look out, but you can't look in.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of wondering about this.
Yeah.
But apparently there's, from what they said, there's. Joe described it. We have the greatest monitors in the world down there that they can look, that they can see what's going on there. But the comment was it seems kind of small in there. So
in the bullpen.
In the bullpen, it seems kind of a small area.
Jim, have you ever thought about how? And I'm not saying this in a way to down talk Joe Madden, but he has got the press so BS'd that he's like a new age type of guy and everything. And, I don't think he really is at all. I mean, he's an
old-fashioned baseball guy talking about it in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. And they're eating out of his hand.
And they're like, "Oh, Joe, you're like so totally cosmic, man."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Joe.
Oh my gosh.
He's an old-fashioned baseball guy who's just framing everything in a different way.
Yes.
Throws a slogan on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. I love it. It's just,
I think it's great, and I love Joe.
Joe is really just a. I know that I hate to be the one to bring it up. But people criticize his plan for the pitching at the end of the series last year, but I just admire the way he handles, his team in general. He's the way he gets everybody a little bit of. Gets everybody a little bit of glory, if you want to put it. Gets them in the game. I know. Last night I'm watching the players be introduced, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what I just thought of, and I never thought of this prior to this. Tommy La Stella and Matt Caesar. It looked like one of them was going to go to the minors or maybe be traded prior to the end of spring training, and then they sent Brian Dunzing down to Iowa to rehab, and I see. I just happened to be watching both the times when they introduced La Stella and Caesar last night, and I said, you know what, this is a really nice thing. I think that the Cubs have done. Both of those guys get to be introduced and get their rings, and have the gold lettering on the jerseys, and then shortly after this, one of them will be gone. But you know what? They kept them both there so that they could enjoy that.
Couple of weeks and they'll be gone.
Yes.
And I thought the same thing, and I was thinking the same thing because I saw an article last night about how many people are actually getting rings.
Oh, how many?
I didn't see an exact number on it, but it was like they put together a list of who could get something, if there was no monetary limitations.
Okay.
And apparently the Ricketts went, sure, okay. So I'm kind of wondering if Munenori Kawasaki is getting is going to get a ring.
You never know.
Know.
I was thinking, John, what's your ring size? I thought maybe we would get some
maybe
rings.
we could get a ring out of
this. The three of us might get rings.
Get
you never
one
know.
Of those. Through your nose, John.
Yeah.
108 diamonds in it.
Yeah. Oh my! How are they gonna? That you know what? Did you see the other day? Somebody said, "How the heck is that thing gonna fit on your finger?" And Montero said, "I don't care." He says, "I might put it on my wrist."
There you go.
So that's.
And Theo asked, they talked about in the article, Theo said, well, yeah, the rings are nice. They come in a nice case, and you put them away. He said, my dad has my '04 Red Sox ring, and I have the other one, but I have it stored away. I suppose I'll put this one away, too.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, how they say it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah.
And I think
that was a Joe saying, wasn't it, too?
Is it? Well, probably a lot of people. That's far from originals, that's for sure.
You know.
But no, because I think the sense I get of a guy like a Theo Epstein is, which is really good for whoever he is involved with as in this case the president of the club. But I can really understand that, because you get to the end, you win the championship, and if you play 16 inch, maybe you get a jacket or some kind of windbreaker or something. But the fun part is just the whole journey. I mean, and the other part is nice, but it's an anticlimax, really. So,
Sure.
And it's great that we have Theo running the team, because okay, we won it last year. Let's get our mind on we'll celebrate a little bit.
Celebrate.
Get our mind on next year.
Now we move on to the other one. But I was thinking about Kawasaki when they released him. They said, why don't you look for see if there's a major league opportunity for you. Mm-hmm. If not, we want you back.
Yeah.
We'll sign you to a contract in Iowa, because you're going to have to come up once or twice during the year.
Well, this is a real strength that the Cubs have. They have I think they really have an understanding, and they care about the people that play for them. And you're going to get loyalty out of that, which is a commodity that I would assume in Major League Sports can be pretty rare.
That's very rare in any sport.
Yeah,
that they do that. It should be just a fun year to watch.
I'm enjoying it already.
Enjoying it already. Whatever happens, because just like I told Arthur, and just like he said, I got mine.
That's it. That's it.
I'm happy.
Hey, before we let this the time slip by, because it's moving pretty quick today, it seems to me. I had texted Jim during the week and said, I'm rooting for Sergio.
Boy, yeah.
And he did it.
Yes, he did. That was I saw the end of it. When I got home on Sunday, and I looked at my phone, and I said, oh, I wonder who won the Masters, and I checked the news, and I said, oh, they're going to a playoff.
Yeah.
I turned the TV on.
Yeah.
To watch that. And I thought that was good. That was good. And you know what? Honestly, I thought he was older than 37.
Yeah, he's been around, but
it seems like he's been around. He was like 18 or 19.
Probably. Yeah. I just as I said to you in a text, I just hate that when you read the best team or the best so and so golfer in this case to never win a major in golfing's case. It just irritates me, because it almost gives you the sense that this is something that's not that hard to do, especially if you're really good like Sergio is. But it is very hard to do. I mean, you go to the Masters, only how many people? What is it? How many?
90 some are invited to play.
Okay, so
I think it was like 93.
So you have 93 golfers who've either won the tournament and have been invited back, or have won a tournament during the year and are invited. Mm-hmm. Or I'm sure, did the Masters use exemptions? I would think they might in some cases.
I think they do, and when they introduced the low amateur, I was trying to remember how he gets invited. Was he the U.S. amateur champion?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember how that was, and I know that there was some controversy. Was it this year or last year? Because some Masters champions who are a little bit older said that they were told that they were invited to the festivities, but they would not be allowed to play.
Okay,
which kind of rubbed some people the wrong way.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when that happened. Because there was some, the problem was there were some guys who were not able to keep up or handle the timeliness or the length of the course that wanted to play, and they had to ask them to back away. So, but Jim, one of the things about this Masters, and a question that I wanted to ask you. Justin Rose and Garcia were in the two in the playoff. They're teammates on, is it the Ryder Cup? What's the cup between Europe and
The Ryder Cup.
The Ryder Cup. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're Justin Rose, okay, and I guess that they're friendly, Rose and Garcia.
Yeah, look like it.
Well, and now you're head to head, and you know the history of this guy that you're up against. I would think that. And you know what? We're not those types of competitors because we're not professionals, and I think that's a whole different type of competition. But you're also human, and I'm thinking to myself, Justin Rose knows this guy's situation, Sergio Garcia's, that is. Now, do you just go totally, I'm not saying cutthroat in the sense of trying to psych him out or something, but, you know, you're full force. Of course, you want to win. You're close to having the Masters yourself, or is something in the back of your mind saying a little bit of sympathy for this guy and maybe take a little bit of edge off of you? What do you think?
I think your competitive edge is going to come out no matter what.
Okay.
You know, I think your competitive edge is going to come out no matter what, and somewhere down the road that, you know.
Now, has Justin Rose ever won the Masters? I know he's won some. I think he's won some majors. He's one of the better golfers in the world.
He's one of the better. I don't think he's won the Masters.
Okay.
It was interesting because when we were watching this, and you know, when they were in Butler Cabin and the green jacket came out, you know, Dana asked me the significance of the green jacket, and I said, well, that's really what the members wear.
Yeah.
And they said, well. You know, and they said something about, well, he gets to keep it for a year. Well, what happens after that? Well, the jacket goes back to Augusta, and it's hung up, and every time next year at the Masters, you know, any events, he gets to put his green jacket on.
Sure.
You know.
That's a nice honor.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw they showed the honor of all the guys for the ceremonial first shot when they brought the chair out that Arnie sat in the year before and draped his jacket over it.
Yeah, that was nice.
You know, and I thought that was a nice touch. And you saw...
Thank you, Jen.
Gary Player having a hard time with his emotions, and Jack Nicklaus having a hard time with his emotions there.
Yeah.
And I told her going back that, you know, I looked back at the list of the winners, and I said for many years until they got too old or passed away, you had Gene Sarazen.
Yeah.
Jimmy DeMerit.
Sure. All those guys.
Ben Hogan. And I think Sam Snead were the traditional opening foursome. And they'd play two or three holes, and that would be about
that's
it.
Right.
They'd play a couple of holes,
Yeah.
and that would be it. But they were the traditions. And what I did not realize that while the event goes back to 1934, the tradition of the green jacket did not start until 1949.
Wow.
I did not realize that.
Well, I read somewhere where they say really the Masters, of course, as you say, was in existence from 34 on, but Arnold Palmer may have been the guy who really made the Masters what it is today because
Yeah.
You know, there was so much interest in Arnie as a player, and he won. I think he won the Masters four times. It was with 1 year in between each of the wins. I think.
Right.
So he basically, because he sort of put golf on the map in terms of a general audience.
He made it an interesting sport for TV.
Right.
He came along at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to see the charge and to see the crowd.
Yeah. Well, here's a guy who's, you know, most golfers will, you know, play it smart in some instances, but Arnie was a guy who always played it
to the wall.
As you say, the charge.
Yeah, to the wall.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun, and we all the replays they kept showing of the final shot. There was one shot and Dana got a big laugh out of it too when he sunk that final putt, and the crowd threw their arms up, and and if they were seated, they jumped up. But it looked like the whole crowd was doing the wave going up as it came up. It was just the timing of it.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I mean, it's a beautiful golf course. There's nothing.
Oh, gorgeous.
There's nothing. That's about the only golf tournament I'll spend some time actually watching.
It's the best out of all of them,
Yeah.
I'd say. The only other one I think that's got the history is the British Open.
Yeah.
That's a great. Those two I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But after the NCAA tournament, you have to hear Jim Nance go, "A tradition like no other." The Masters.
Hey, are you getting excited? The draft is almost on us here.
I know, and
Man.
I had an article here that let me see. Did I let that go? I saw something on CBS Sports.com. Somebody had I still had it. Who was this? Dane Brugler's 2017 NFL mock draft. Bears surprise. Take Trubisky at number 3.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No, I think
really,
the guy, if he's there when they're ready to draft the QB, I think the guy's going to be Peterman.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I have that feeling,
Yeah.
and I still like my guy at Iowa, although he was a little inconsistent this year. Beathard,
Who was it?
CJ Beathard.
Oh, Beathard. Okay.
Yeah, but his picks here. First round, first pick of the draft, Myles Garrett, defensive end, offensive linebacker. The Browns taking him. 49ers taking Solomon Thomas.
What is he?
Defensive end.
Defensive end.
The Bears taking Trubisky. Jamal Adams is safety by the Jaguars. Jamal Adams would be good in that backfield, in that defensive backfield. The Titans taking Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State. The Jets, free safety Malik Hooker from Ohio State. The Chargers, Jonathan Allen, defensive lineman from Alabama. Leonard Fournette taken by Carolina with the 8th pick. You think he's going to have a good career?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it depends on where he ends up. If are they going to feature him? Is he going to have a decent line in front of him?
Yeah.
Jim, go ahead.
I was gonna I'm not gonna go through all these. I wanted to flip since he's got the second round. I wanted to flip down and find that.
Oh, okay.
Go.
I was going to say, did you see Jamal Adams is the safety from LSU, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Malik Hooker is a safety from
Ohio State.
I was reading, and it was interesting, and it makes me wonder really where. I guess it depends on the organization and how they think. It gave the pluses and minuses of the article I was reading of Adams and Hooker. But the one little thing, and it's a little part of one sentence, the way they do it, but it's a huge thing when you think about it. They said, well, the thing about Malik Hooker is he hasn't played much football. He didn't play much in high school.
No.
Started 1 year at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Okay, that doesn't throw me off so much, but they said the knock on him is he's not that good of a tackler. And I'm thinking, well, you're a defensive football player, a safety on top of it.
Safety.
I would think you better be able to tackle pretty well.
Yeah.
So if that's a knock on him, I'm thinking, how does that justify him maybe being a first round pick?
What's the pick? And I'm also surprised at another one. Of course, their comment here with the 30th pick in the first round, they've got the Steelers taking Jabril Peppers.
Okay.
From Michigan. Pittsburgh hasn't been able to properly replace the hole left by Troy Polamalu at strong safety, and although Peppers isn't on that level, he has an intriguing blend of athleticism and physicality.
Well, I'd you're bringing up a great point, Jim. I mean, because Jabril Peppers goes right along with what I'm thinking here, is an outstanding athlete. I mean, I watched him play a couple of times.
Very athletic, yeah.
But is he really have a position? for the NFL.
No.
That's
I don't.
the
I'm
thing.
trying. He's going to be one of those that you're going to look at and try to figure out what to do with.
Yeah.
I
think
can't.
That's the problem.
I've heard people say, well, try him as a wide receiver. Try him as this.
Yeah, exactly.
And is he going to be one of those that, people are going to try him in different places and screw his head up?
Yeah.
That you have to wonder about.
Yeah, I think there's a potential for some craziness there.
Now, in the second round with the 36th pick, this guy is predicting Josh Jones, free safety, North Carolina State.
For the Bears?
For the Bears. If Chicago doesn't go secondary in round 1, they'll likely will in round 2, with Jones being a possibility.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think of the Bears possibly going secondary in round 1?
Oh, I think it'd be an intelligent choice.
Yeah.
I think it would be an intelligent choice. You're going to have, all the talk about, we've got all these great quarterbacks, and now we go through all the, you've gone through all the mock drafts, and you've had the pro days, and you have everything else. I'd be shocked if Trubisky is taken first, being the first quarterback taken in the draft.
Yeah.
Because as I'm going down the list here in the first round, you have Trubisky. This guy's saying Trubisky as the number 3 pick. And I'm flipping down to see who's the next quarterback that he's predicting being taken. And I'm getting down to the 15th pick, 16th pick. I'm not seeing a quarterback.
He's got Watson I'm assuming he'd be the next.
Mahomes being taken 23rd by the Giants, which might not be a bad choice considering Eli's getting up there.
Sure.
In years. That's not a bad choice. And a lot of people, Watson taken 27th by the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
An ideal match for both the Chiefs and Watson. Kansas City might not be able to pass on the quarterback if the right one falls in their laps. And 32nd pick, New Orleans from New England, DeShone Kizer. New Orleans, with the fact Drew Brees is 38 years old, it's time to start finding somebody.
Do you honestly, or in your opinion, let me ask you this, do you think that any of these quarterbacks will actually be one of the first 10 picks?
If anything, anybody who's going to be a pick within the first 10, I would think you're going to look at Watson.
Yeah.
I would think you'd look at Watson before anybody else.
Yeah. Although I wouldn't say, I'd say this. I wouldn't be surprised if Trubisky is the first quarterback pick, but he's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be picked third. I hope not. The thing about him, to me, is, again, how much experience has he had in college. When you talk about when we talk about basketball, one of the things that we knock the NBA for is taking these guys, after they've had 1 year of experience or a couple years. Trubisky is a senior, obviously, but he has not been the starting quarterback at North Carolina. He's not a 4-year starter or anything like that.
Right.
So that to me might be a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, I think it might be. It's also interesting that one of the people I follow on Twitter is Greg Gabriel. Mm-hmm. Great scout, was the Bears scouting director.
Yeah.
For years. He tweeted out the other day, and I just happened to catch it, and I didn't go back and look at it. He said the most important round in the draft is the 4th round. Because you're going to have quality picks down there at a variety of positions.
Right.
He said, and this is where your scouting pays off.
Yeah, I can see that. I believe that.
You can go for the sexy picks in the first round. Mm-hmm. Draft your number one, your big quarterback star and your running back. but we've talked before. How many of those guys, there's a lot of number one picks that
sure.
you thought, oh my God, how can he miss? And he missed.
Yeah.
And he missed big time.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So,
but when you go farther down, I mean, we've talked about the fact that over the history of the draft, John Unitas was a 9th round pick.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady was 199th pick in the draft.
Yeah. That's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Did you see, interestingly, Adrian Peterson was worked out by the Patriots last week, I believe it was, which doesn't mean anything in particular, but I'm just wondering if the Patriots would consider him like for a 1-year deal or something.
Oh, I'm sure if they're going to sign him, it's
they're not going to sign him.
If they sign him, I'm sure it's one and an option.
Yeah, and what is he? Is there any word on what he wants?
No.
I would say Adrian Peterson is sort of the type of guy though you want on your team, even though now he's long in the tooth now for a running back. But the way the Patriots use their running backs, he could be an effective guy.
He could be a big plus.
Yeah,
he could be a big plus. Hey, John, there was one thing I forgot to ask you before because I know how much you love him. He's got the look on his face. He knows where I'm going. He knows where I'm going. Yeah, your favorite, Derrick Rose, with more knee problems, and he still you want. Should we pick up and get well card and send it off to the Knicks? I know you'd like.
I tell you what, I'll have the printing done in gold.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, John,
I like that.
That.
And the fact that he still thinks he's going to get a max contract in this offseason.
Oh my gosh!
Do you believe how delusional somebody is like that?
That is delusional.
That is delusional.
When you got to figure, he'd be lucky if he has a career left after another knee injury.
I would think that too. What is this, 4 knee surgeries?
Yeah, it might be 4. 3 for sure.
Yeah. Meniscus. This might be the 3rd time with the meniscus.
And I think it's maybe the 3rd time with the one knee.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Well,
but I forgot. I was going to ask you right at the beginning if you wanted to do that because I know you love him.
Yep.
Yeah. He sounds like
now.
Yeah, you sound like the guy at the end of the Mary Tyler Moore show. Good night, Mr.
Yeah. John is following my slogan. I'm old, I'm tired, I'm crabby. Get off my lawn.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we got about 2 minutes left. Anything else you want to chit-chat about? Anything on your mind? I can't think of anything else I want to talk about.
You can't think of anything else you want to talk about?
Well, we're coming up on Derby Day. I haven't even got...
You talk about the Illinois Derby?
Illinois
That's
Derby is next weekend, right? 22nd? Yeah. Hey, I might have to take a little flyer on that.
You know what? I never was was Hawthorne was always a thoroughbred track, right?
They do trotters too.
Okay.
They do trotters too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's that's an interesting sport. I love horse racing.
Mm-hmm.
And love the Derby and the Preakness and the
Belmont.
Last one, the Belmont. The Belmont. How much further is the Belmont?
The Belmont is 1.5 miles.
And that's why a lot of times that's a difficult one.
That's the test.
That's the big test.
You
can win the first 2 legs of that Triple Crown, but that last one is a little tougher.
That's for
a lot of reasons.
That's a long race, but I still think you go back on YouTube and you look at Secretariat on winning the Belmont, and Ron Turcotte coming down the stretch wondering why he doesn't hear anybody behind him.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, looking over his shoulder and realizing they're about 30 links back.
Yeah, there's nobody near him.
There's nobody near him. Like he's going along like, oh my God, I'm deaf.
What a horse!
Geez.
That was
just incredible.
Secretariat. Holy
just
crap.
An incredible horse.
What did you think about Seattle Slew? He was close.
Yeah.
He was close.
Yeah, and
Seattle Slew.
Seattle Slew, and I also think that there was one, and I can't remember what horse it was, I can't remember the name of the horse, but it was an offspring of Secretariat.
Okay.
And won one of the Triple Crown races, and I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but I remember listening to the call and Dave Johnson doing the call.
Yeah,
And
very good.
you could tell he's just getting more and more excited about this.
Yeah.
Because his traditional his trademark call when they hit the top of the stretch is, and down the stretch they come.
Yeah.
And he was just getting so wound up, and he hit that, and he went, and down the stretch they come, and just like his daddy.
Yeah, well, he was waiting for that, wasn't he?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what? Yeah, the horses that the Secretariat sired, what the heck were those horses worth? They had to be worth
Yep.
a ton of money.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them were. Nobody could have been as incredibly successful
No,
as Secretariat.
no.
But I know there was at least a Triple Crown
Well,
race
let me ask
winner.
you this, though, Jim. Secretariat, of course, all of us who are just casual horse racing fans know Secretariat ran at least 3 races.
Yeah.
But how many races would a horse like that run in his career, would you say? Did he run much more than that?
No, I think he retired after a 3-year-old. I know after being a 3-year-old, he came here and ran in an invitational, and that there was one more race, I think, at Belmont in the fall that he ran.
Okay.
And I don't know if he won it. I don't remember if he won it.
Okay.
Going back 44 years now.
It's an amazing thing when you say you're not sure if he won it or not. The horse wins the 3 biggest races there are, at least traditionally in the United States, anyway. And you don't remember if he won or lost when he raced here.
He won here.
He won here.
He won here. It was supposed to be a 3-horse.
It was like
A 3-horse invitational
Okay.
race. It was a 3-horse invitational race, and if I remember right, one of the horses had to drop out, and it wound up being a match race.
Okay.
It wound up being a match race.
Okay.
And
Because I would think it would be interesting if, say, Secretariat ran other races that he lost, or didn't come in first, I would say, and won the Triple Crown. Is the horse actually have a sense of the magnitude of what he's doing?
Oh.
It's an interesting thing to think about.
it was a lot of things there that you looked at, and that horse was a ham.
Mm-hmm.
That horse was a ham when there was cameras around him and that.
Uh-huh.
There was a shot that somebody had taken to him after one of the Triple Crown races, and he's back at his stall, and he pokes his head out, and he's giving it one of those,
Yeah.
"Hi, how you doing?" One of those looks.
Yeah.
I mean, they said he was a real ham. He knew when he was
He knew
on.
when he was on camera.
He knew when he was on.
Yeah.
So that was a classic. You don't see horses come around like that very
Yeah.
often.
No, I could believe that.
The Triple Crown winner last time, this last one, that's a rare one.
Now, who was that? That was the last he won
Yeah.
it this time around, right?
This past year, and names
Can't
just
remember it. Yeah.
name. That's the problem with this getting old stuff.
Yeah. Although,
John chuckles like, yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, tell me about it.
This
yeah.
horse won, but I always liked the 2 horses that came close and won 2/3 of the deal. Smarty Jones and
Smarty.
Big Brown.
Yeah.
And I remember being so disappointed watching the Belmont with Big Brown, and he totally just. Really his rider shut him down. I don't know what the physical problem
It
was.
may have been something that he could sense in him.
Yeah.
He could sense it. Smarty Jones. That year in the Belmont, I had a nice trifecta box with Smarty Jones in it.
Okay.
And because Smarty Jones didn't win, but there was a long shot that came in. So when I had bet it over at Maywood, and I stopped at Maywood and put the ticket in the machine, and when that message comes up on the screen, See the IRS agent.
Hey, you like that, didn't you?
You know,
That was good.
you know, that was one of those. Well, I said, well, I know it's over $600,
Yeah,
so I got
that sounds good.
I got to sign for this one.
Man.
You know, that's always a pleasant event when you see one of those.
Oh,
When
I could say.
you look at that and you go, oh my gosh, I got a signer.
Well,
And
now that we did the longest 2 minutes that we've ever done,
I think it's time for us to get
time
out
to
of
get
here.
the heck out of here.
You can always tell us. You can always figure out. We can always figure out a way to kill time.
No doubt.
We've done this for 57 years.
Yeah, long time.
Long time. All right, time for us to get out of here. We had fun again today. We talked about a bunch of stuff, and for two guys who never know what they're going to talk about, we always manage to kill 60 minutes and then some.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you all in a couple of weeks, or maybe next week. I don't know. You want to do one next week?
Yeah, we could do next week.
Yeah. Yes, John
Jan
says.
says, yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
Oh, I have to next week. Oh.
Okay.
Whatever John said. I guess we're here next
Yeah,
week.
we're here next week.
Okay, we'll be here next week.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Time for us to wrap it up. Thanks for listening. Hope you had as much fun as we did, and we'll catch you next week. Until that time, we are Taillights.
You have been listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, April the 12th, the year 2017 on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zefnik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikanda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Tuesday, April the 11th, the year 2017. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois.